you want to talk about what we were talking about on the pre-call about how you were saying Jalen Hurts is just as good as Lamar Jackson?
Oh,
you want to take that back? That's a travesty. That's completely indefensible. Can Lamar have A.J. Brown and the Eagles' offensive line, little Devontae Smith, who, by the way, would be clearly the best receiver?
Lamar Jackson has a very good offensive line, by the way, and he's had Marquise Brown. He has Mark Andrews, by the way. I'm just saying in the preseason, I declared my ride or die Jalen Hurts, my fantasy ride or die, because it is a fantasy football show.
Commanders?
Look, he's a human. He's a human being.
He's not Chris Hemsworth?
No, Washington took command. It is what it is. By the way, Jalen Hurts still had a good fantasy day, even in a game in which everything that could have gone wrong for the Eagles went wrong. Jalen Hurts still got in the end zone, still threw a touchdown pass. Here's what I will tell you, though. So I said Jalen Hurts is my fantasy ride or die, and everyone, fantasy managers across America, are like, thank you, Matthew Berry. We love you. We appreciate you. You're awesome. You're pretty good, period. But here, pretty good for an Australian says, hey, Lamar Jackson is my fantasy ride or die. And B. Rubes, throw up the full screen here in terms of what's going on with Lamar Jackson. For somebody that was, one of the top 5 picks at quarterback here, he was awesome early. You were looking great early, Jay.
20,
42, 39, and then 13, 14, 16, 10. What's going on? Like, there's a 4-week stretch there where he couldn't get to 17 fantasy points. How's that a ride or die? He got 21 against the Bucs, 17 against the Saints. Okay, fine, but make no mistake. Look, what you should say as I sit here and criticize your Lamar Jackson fantasy ride or die call is just, hey, pretty good for an Australian. That's the response.
I got 2 words and 5 syllables for you.
What's that?
Devin Duvernay, who's Lamar Jackson, me and Lamar. He's our number 1 wide receiver, and we're still putting up top 6 QB value. Lamar Jackson is coming in hot. Does he get right against the Panthers, Lawrence?
Not only is he going to get right, he going to get right to the point. See, I was with you on the Commanders, but this right here, when we're talking about Lamar Jackson, not only
love Lamar Jackson,
not only,
but not as much as I love Jalen Hurts.
My cousin,
by the way,
Lamar
I'm
Jackson.
Right. I'm right. Tell me I'm right, America. You know I'm right.
Hey, look, we got plenty to play, and guess what? It starts with Lamar at home versus the Panthers.
I like it.
Then the Jaguars. Then the Broncos, who have a good defense, but they're as a whole, they're playing uninspired football. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers. They have a matchup with the Falcons down the line in the middle of the fantasy playoffs. Lamar Jackson is going to get back right, and he's going to be in the play for QB1 for the season. He's coming back, baby.
So.
Jackson's unite.
I have Lamar in a number of leagues. Lawrence and Lamar. Yeah, your long lost cousin. I know. Look, the fact of the matter is since week 3, I've seen him play flag football. I've seen video. I've seen video of Lawrence.
Little 2019 MVP.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but
I don't throw though. I never throw.
He went out to the Fantasy Football Expo and ran circles. Now understand, Fantasy Football Expo, it's a lot of fantasy experts. It's a bunch of fat dudes. You know what I mean? Like the bar was low for Lawrence, but he still looked pretty good.
That's how Lamar looked in 2019.
Yeah, a lot of fat dudes couldn't catch it.
It's true. Right. Anyway, what I will say is that since week 3, his best fantasy finish is QB 10.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's not ride or die territory.
No receivers.
But you knew that going into the season. I knew going into the season my guy had A.J. Brown. I knew my guy had Dallas Goedert. I knew my guy had Devontae Smith. You knew your guy had,
We liked Rashad Bateman in the preseason. I wanted more out of Rashad Bateman. He gave me absolutely nothing, but Lamar is still coming back.
I think the point here, other than the fact that, again, you've got a catchphrase now, pretty good for an Australian. I think the other thing that we've learned here today is that we expect good things for Lamar Jackson, and even though he had that long dip in the middle of the season, I have him as a top 5 quarterback this week. I do think this is a big get-right game against the Carolina Panthers.
Yep. Let's talk about a couple guys who absolutely did not win MVP in 2019, and that's Zach Wilson and Mac Jones, who are coming off a bye, if that means anything to anyone. Matthew, I'll start with you. Are these guys good enough to support top pass catchers like Jacoby Myers, Garrett Wilson?
I prefer Jacoby Myers to Garrett Wilson this week, but yes, I think both guys will be good enough to make them viable in fantasy. Look, Jacoby Myers comes in as wide receiver 20, right? You think about the previous game against the Jets in week 8. He had 21 fantasy points in that game, right? 13 targets against the Jets in that game, which tied a season high. He's averaging almost 7 targets a game with Mac Jones, which is more than he had with Bailey Zappi under center as well. So Jacoby Myers, who's had at least 60 receiving yards in 5 of the 7 games that he's played so far this year, he's a top 20 wide receiver for me. Garrett Wilson, Lawrence, I'm in on him as well as a top 30 wide receiver.
Yeah. So like this the quarterback play here is not the greatest, but what is great is that you know that these two are the solidified options. If both of these quarterbacks throw for 175 yards, both of these guys have a good chance to have 100 of those each, and they demonstrated that in their matchup a couple of weeks ago. So despite the quarterback play or whatever you want to say about it, it's actually I think the Jets are a solid team. I think the Patriots are pretenders. But nevertheless, I think both receivers could still do solid numbers.
Week 8 against these same Patriots, Garrett Wilson had 115 yards coming off of the bye. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game and figuring out, and they've spent, and I have sources on the team, they've spent 2 weeks figuring out different ways to get the ball to Garrett Wilson and new ways to ignore Elijah Moore. They have
that's what it seemed like.
They have studied the tape. They're like, it's not just it's exactly. It's just like we've got to find out new and creative ways to make sure Elijah Moore doesn't touch the ball. Hey, we're going to have him do skits at halftime. That sort of they're finding out all sorts of really interesting ways to make sure Elijah Moore does not touch the ball. They've really dug deep into the film work there. Garrett Wilson just has a massive target share with Zack Wilson under center. He's the one Jets viable pass catcher I think you can start in this one. Tyler Conklin's whatever, a mid-tier tight end too that you hope gets into the end zone. And I think you're starting Michael Carter if you have him. But Garrett Wilson in target share, it's wide receiver 27 for me. So far on the season, he's wide receiver 30.
What do you think Zack Wilson did on his bye week, Matthew?
I think he, I hear my ears.
Hey, don't be asking about nobody's stepdaddy on the TV show.
Right. I think he's,
He out there stepdaddy, and that's what he doing.
Yeah, I just
he
think,
chilling.
I think he met a lot of moms.
You're right up for it. That's the best you got. You lost it. You played it safe. You played it safe. You stuck with the Zack Wilson offense. You didn't want to, you don't throw deep.
I wanted to say something else. I just, whatever.
Stop saying,
Here's what from what I understand, he was a guest speaker. He's a very generous guy with his time. He likes to give back to the community and do personal events. And so he had 3 different mommy and me's. He went to the classes at 3 different mommy and me's just to
chilling.
Just to sign some autographs, take some photos.
Just network.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Kiss some babies.
Broncos offense. Lawrence, does it get right against the Raiders in Week 11?
In any other situation, I say hell no. But they playing these Raiders, man. These Raiders is so down bad in the gutter. I gotta go with them this week. I don't really have any, I don't have anything great to say about it. Clearly, the Denver Broncos defense is good. If the Broncos would have scored at least 18 points in every game this season, they'd be 8-1. That's crazy to think about.
Yep. Week 4 against the Raiders, as you can see on your screen if you're watching on the YouTube channel or on Peacock. Russell Wilson had his best fantasy game of the season by far against the Raiders. The only time he's topped 18 fantasy points, he topped 27. Cortland Sutton and Greg Dulcich might be the only interesting things on the Broncos side of the ball. He's starting both of those guys against the insipid Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I am actually. Russell Wilson, by the way, is going to make the love list when it comes out tomorrow as well. Let's not get crazy. But I'm at QB 11, which, given how poorly he's played so far this year, I think would surprise people. But it's a rule in fantasy football, and it's been there since the beginning of time. If you can revive Matt Ryan, you can revive anyone, and that's what the Raiders did last week. So I think Russell Wilson has a good game here. You asked about Dulcich. I will just say that he's had at least 11 fantasy points in 3 of the 4 games he's played. We don't expect Jerry Jeudy to play in this game, so more targets should be available for Dulcich, who's it's not a matchup that scares you against the Las Vegas Raiders as well. You mentioned Cortland Sutton. He comes in at wide receiver 13. Again, you think about last year, weeks 2 through 7. Those were the weeks that Jerry Jeudy did not play in 2021.
Right.
In those games, weeks 2 through 7, he was averaging over 9 targets a game. He had 3 different games with over 23 fantasy points. This is somebody who should have a big target share in a game in which we expect them to score quite a bit. Denver, for as bad as they are, is actually favored in this game. And
the
Raiders are a bottom 10 pass defense over the last month.
Yep, Denver defense is legitimate. Let's talk about my Indianapolis Colts. I'm really buying into the Colts bandwagon. I really like them going forward.
They're now your Colts.
Yeah, they're my Colts.
Yeah.
I'm a big Jonathan Taylor guy. I was very early on the JT bandwagon.
Sure.
And let me tell you, I'm right back on it right now. Are you buying the Renaissance under Coach of the Year Jeff Saturday? Still 150 to 1 at BetMGM. And as Jonathan Taylor, most importantly, has he cemented himself as a top 5 running back going forward?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, just the volume and the fact that the offensive line is playing better. Credit to Jeff Sunday, at least for that. I will say that, as we saw, and we talked about earlier in the show, the Eagles are traveling on a short week, and you can run on the Eagles. In fact, while we're doing this show, got an alert from the Fantasy Life app, which is free, by the way, and great, highly recommended, fantasylifeapp.com. I got an alert from the Fantasy Life app that the Eagles are signing Linval Joseph.
Yeah.
Played with the Eagles, right? Yeah, played with the Vikings, and he's played for a few teams. But he was basically retired, and they're trying to get him out. I think he played 12 seasons in the NFL and was sitting at the couch at home, and they're like, hey, please come try to help us out there. So he's not going to be there to help out this week. Traveling on a short week, going against Jonathan Taylor, who had 24 touches last week, 85% of the running back carries here. We'll see if Deion Jackson is active for this one. He wasn't last week, but whatever. Over the last 4 weeks, the Eagles are a bottom 5 run defense. Yep. We saw what the Commanders were able to do to them on Monday Night Football when they took command and defeated them.
Yeah. Also, with that Commanders game, the Commanders only had 3.1 yards per carry, but if you look deeper into the numbers, their success rate in terms of running the ball, because a lot of those runs were like, it's 3rd and 1, and we got 1 yard. That's a good run. And so that's why it dragged down the yards per carry. Eagles' run defense wasn't good in that game, despite that fact.
And that's my expectation, too, is that Jeff Saturday and his staff see that, and they're like, okay, we've got one of the best. As much as I like Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson, neither of them are as good as Jonathan Taylor.
He's
just a little.
He's a different caliber. Let's talk about the pass catchers, Michael Pittman and the rejuvenated Paris Campbell. He's starting those guys with confidence against the Eagles.
So we're going to go back to starting Michael Pittman like the wide receiver 2 he was supposed to be, but I like the value you get here in Paris Campbell. He was just on waivers. Some people probably got him off waivers, and he's been balling with Matt Ryan. The 2 games with The 2 games with Sam Ehlinger, not so much. So I like Paris Campbell as a flex play. You could put Michael Pittman back into the wide receiver 2 spot. Paris Campbell, 18-plus fantasy points in 3 of the last 5 games. And guess who was at quarterback? Matt Ryan. There we go. I love it.
The two games that he didn't get there, or the 2 Sam Ehlinger games, right? And so as Matt Ryan, who's not particularly mobile, as plays break down, he's trying to look for a guy, and so Paris Campbell, who runs a lot of his routes close to the line of scrimmage, is the beneficiary there. It's worth noting that the Eagles are top 10 in the NFL in terms of highest catch rate allowed to the slot, where Paris Campbell runs most of his routes as well. Again, think about Philadelphia and how good those corners are in Slay and Bradbury, and so the middle of the field makes sense as to where you might attack Philadelphia when you're not running the ball. So Paris Campbell, wide receiver 26 for me this week. Lawrence and I are on the same page there. I think he's a viable flex.
Yep, not very mobile. Matt Ryan wants you to look at his 39-yard run.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing.
He's Lamar Jackson 2.0.
You see that?
We're going to go to break. When we come back, Sunday Night Football, NBC Sports Predictor Contest. We'll talk Chiefs and Chargers.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and RotoWorld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from RotoWorld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.